Ever since Election Day, Republicans have continued to push this talking point that Donald Trump won in an overwhelming mandate, that he won in a landslide, but it's just not true. They'd have you believe that voters went to the ballot box on Election Day hoping for Attorney General Matt Gaetz or RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary, but that's just not the case. And it's getting more difficult for them to make that argument, and thus getting more difficult for them to have the support that they need for their nominees within their own caucus. Because some news that Donald Trump just got about these election results is clearly driving him crazy, because he knows how damaging it is to the possibility of him getting the cabinet that he wants. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now, before we get into Donald Trump's meltdown on Truth Social over some election results, I want to hear a breakdown by CNN on these results that we continue to get in that are really just devastating to Donald Trump.
Here's a trivia question for you. What do Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have in common? The answer: their popular vote victories are really similar. In fact, as of right now, it looks like Hillary Clinton's popular vote victory in 2016 is bigger than Donald Trump's popular vote victory in 2024, something I'm sure Trump world is thrilled we just said out loud. With me now, CNN senior, very senior data reporter, Harry Enton. Look, it is not common lately for Republicans to win the popular vote and the Electoral College vote.
Correct.
So Trump has something to celebrate there. But look, his popular vote margin is shrinking.
Yeah, the case that Trump's mandate isn't all that. Look, if you look historically speaking, Donald Trump is now under 50% in the national popular vote, barely under 50%, but he is under 50%. And I want to take a look and compare his popular vote victory to those, historically speaking, over the last 200 years. His popular vote victory ranks 44th out of 51. That ain't exactly strong. Some might argue that is weak, in the words of Tony Blair. In fact, his popular vote win at this point is the weakest, going all the way back. You have to go all the way back to 2000 to find a weaker one, a smaller popular vote victory than Donald Trump currently has. So, yeah, Trump has won the popular vote, but it ain't all that, my dear friend John Berman.
You know, George W. Bush had a bigger popular vote
Yes.
in 2004. And if you're looking at a combination of popular vote and electoral college vote, look, Obama twice
Correct.
had bigger popular vote and electoral college vote victories.
And Joe Biden did as well.
Joe Biden's popular vote victory
Correct.
twice as
Yes.
big, electoral college victory a little smaller. Talk about coattails for Donald Trump.
Yeah, let's talk about coattails here. So, you talk about the Senate, short coattails. States Trump won, but Democrats won or lead in the Senate race. Look at this. In 2016, it was 0. In 2020, it was 0. In 2024, look at this. Four states where a Senate Democratic candidate won, even though Donald Trump won. We're talking about Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That is 4 states, and Pennsylvania we still haven't called yet. That could be 5 if Bob Casey is able to mount a comeback. But even if Casey loses and Dave McCormick wins, we're talking about 4 states. In fact, I went all the way back to the history books, and this is the most Senate races that the Prez Winners Party lost in states the president won since 2004. Again, you have to go all the way back since the early 2000s to find a historical note that matches what's going on right now. So yeah, Donald Trump won, but there weren't exactly all that many Republicans, or at least fewer than you'd expect historically, who rode around in that victory car with him.
What about the House?
What about the House? Well, we're talking about a historically small majority potentially for the Republicans. The GOP would have a record small majority if the current House results hold. The GOP would be at 221. The Democrats would be at 214. You have to go all the way back before there were 50 states in the Union to find a smaller majority for the incoming House majority that Republicans currently hold right now at 221. And, of course, that could drop lower if Stefanik Waltz or others leave the House Republican majority, which at this point seems quite likely, Mr. Berman.
And again, it is worth noting there are parts of Donald Trump's victory which are notable, a realignment, historic in their own way. But the size of the victory just isn't.
Correct. What we're talking about is we're talking a very wide win for Donald Trump, but the depth, it's not particularly deep. It's actually quite shallow, historically speaking, Mr. Berman.
Harry, and thank you very much for that.
Like I said, and like Donald Trump clearly knows, as we'll see in his Truth Social post, he doesn't have an overwhelming mandate. He didn't win the popular vote in some historic fashion, and he didn't even win 50% of the votes cast. So Republicans, with their claim that all Americans clearly want Donald Trump to do whatever he wants and we'll jump as high as he says and we'll put in whatever nominee he asks for, is not reflective of the will of the people. And that's why we're finally seeing some pushback from Republicans, and the votes that continue to trickle in, hurting Donald Trump's mandate, as he'd like to call it, are clearly getting him upset because he took to Truth Social and decided to attack Ann Seltzer, the pollster out of Ohio, for some reason, really just revealing that he is still a sore winner about the results of this election. And I want to get into that meltdown right here. Trump wrote on Truth Social a totally fake poll that caused great distrust and uncertainty at a very critical time. She knew exactly what she was doing. Thank you to the great people of Iowa for giving me such a record-breaking vote despite possible election fraud by Ann Seltzer and now discredited newspaper for which she works for. An investigation is fully called for. This is what I'm talking about. Donald Trump wants you to believe that he won some historic vote by the biggest margin possible. Oh, it was so incredible. But that's not true. And he and the rest of the Republican Party wants you to believe that, so you think that it's okay that they just ram through their cabinet nominees, that this is what America voted for. But that's just not true. And it's getting more difficult for Donald Trump to make that case when we see even Republicans coming out against Matt Gaetz, one of the nominees he so desperately wants to be his AG. And that's driving Donald Trump crazy, especially with some new news about Matt Gaetz that we're going to get into. But before we do, let's check out this congressional Republicans' response to him.
I'm looking at him as a member of Congress and the job that he has done here, and it has been abhorrent. I'm not the only one who thinks this way. I just say the quiet part out loud, and I wish other of my colleagues would have the same courage to do so. But him as a member of Congress should not be the most powerful law enforcement individual in our country, and everyone knows it, and he's not going to get confirmed. And so this is solely based off of his job as a member of Congress within this body that has caused more harm, made us spend more money, has put us in more paralyzation than any other member.
We are seeing so much infighting in the Republican Party already, and I absolutely love it. We need a little positivity. We need a little joy. And it's coming with Republicans eating and calling out their own in Matt Gaetz. We've seen several reports that there's a lot of belief that he cannot be confirmed and that Republicans will not allow Donald Trump to ram him through with a recess appointment. And that makes sense considering some news we just got about Matt Gaetz right here.
Now we are talking to a lawyer who represented two women who spoke to the House Ethics Committee. He was in the room for both of those interviews. And here's what he said one of his clients told those House investigators.
At this particular event, what did your client witness?
So she testified in July of 2017 at this house party. She was walking out to the pool area and she looked to her right and she saw Representative Gaetz having sex with her friend who was 17.
Now, Matt Gaetz has denied he ever had sex with anyone under the age of 18 years old. We also know, according to sources, that a woman testified to the House Ethics Committee that Matt Gaetz had sex with her when she was 17 years old and in high school, and he was a sitting congressman. Again, Matt Gaetz has denied that. We also know that House investigators were looking into Venmo records and accusations that Matt Gaetz allegedly paid women for sex. Again, these are allegations that he denies. Here's what this attorney told our Juju Chang about that aspect of this investigation.
Both of your clients testified that they were paid by Representative Gaetz to have sex.
That's correct. The House was very clear about that and went through each. They essentially put the Venmo payments on the screen and asked about them. And my clients repeatedly testified, what was this payment for? Well, that was for sex.
We also know this attorney says that his clients told the House committee that they witnessed parties, that there were illicit drugs allegedly there, and then, of course, that they witnessed those alleged sexual encounters that Matt Gaetz has denied.
Completely devastating and totally disqualifying, aside from the fact that Matt Gaetz has no involvement with the DOJ besides being investigated himself. This should be someone who isn't allowed in Congress. It's a good thing he's not there anymore, but to be in Trump's cabinet, incredibly crazy. And someone who did a great job calling that out was Adam Schiff right here.
You heard what Speaker Johnson said about Matt Gaetz. What do you think?
I think he's not only unqualified, he is really disqualified. Are we really going to have an attorney general who There's credible allegations he was involved in child sex trafficking, potential illicit drug use, obstruction of investigation, who has no experience serving in the Justice Department, only being investigated by it. But Jake, I think the whole point with these nominees, several of them, is their unqualification, is their affirmative disqualification. That's Trump's point, because what he wants to do with these nominees is establish that the Congress of the United States will not stand up to him with anything. If they will confirm Matt Gaetz, they will do anything he wants. I mean, look how the Speaker had to tie himself in knots. A couple days ago saying the Speaker effectively should stay out of this, there are important reasons for that, and then getting involved in this, reversing himself, tying himself into a pretzel to placate Donald Trump. And if the Senate should decide to confirm without seeing this ethics report or to allow recess appointments, essentially the Senate is saying we're going to abdicate our responsibility for advice and consent. This is not why people voted for Donald Trump. They voted for him to reduce prices. I talked to people up and down the state of California. The economy was the central issue. They want someone who's going to address the cost of housing and the cost of childcare and the cost of food and gas. They didn't vote for this kind of retribution destruction tour that the president seems now engaged in.
Now, while it looks like Senate Republicans will actually go forward with a real confirmation process and get to look at the ethics report about Matt Gaetz internally, I don't think that's enough. We need that report to be public. We need that information, and we need it to push back against Donald Trump. And so in the top comment and description of this video, I have a petition linked to call on Congress to please release that ethics report. The public deserves to see it, and we deserve to be able to call Donald Trump out with it. And if you could sign that, it goes a long way. And if you want to support this channel, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.